Part 2 of the research project, the persuasive essay. If you didn't completely understand Part 1, the exemplification paragraph, hopefully learning about the persuasive essay will help. The nature of this assignment. In this essay, you will state a claim. That claim will be located in your thesis, and then you'll support it with evidence, which will be located in the body paragraphs. For this essay, you should locate at least 6 sources. Now, those 6 sources need to appear on your annotated bibliography. We talked about the annotated bibliography in class last week. I gave you the handout at the library when we were conducting research and learning about the research process. The idea on the annotated bibliography is that you'll list out your 6 potential sources. Remember, in addition to just listing them in an MLA formatted entry, you also need to add maybe 2 sentences to explain what they're about, and then just 1 sentence to explain how you intend to use the source. So if the annotated bibliography doesn't help you out in this assignment, then think of it as just practice for a larger assignment, because these do come in handy. They come in very handy when you start getting so many sources you can't keep track of them. Returning to the persuasive essay then, you need to locate at least 6 sources, but you need to use only 4 of them in this essay. You can use more than 4, you can use all 6, you can even use sources that don't appear on your annotated bibliography, but you do need at least 4 sources in this essay. In this essay, you will persuade your reader to do one of 3 things: either change their attitude, or change their belief, or actually engage in a specific action. You want them to do something as a result of reading your paper. Because this is a persuasive paper, and because you'll be researching topics that you probably have an opinion on, one thing you should be aware of is the fact that your opinions might be challenged when you conduct research. You might discover more information than you were aware of before. You might hear a point of view that you weren't familiar with before. And this is okay. Sometimes reading opinions that disagree with yours can change your mind, and sometimes they don't. Either way, the worst case scenario is that you might just grow as a human being, and that's not all bad. Let's move down to how this essay operates then. In terms of a topic, you should have already chosen one. I gave you a handout about the persuasive unit a couple of weeks ago. If you've not yet told me what your topic is, please do so as soon as you possibly can. You can choose one off of that list, or you can come up with one of your own and submit it to me for approval. In terms of the structure of this assignment, it's pretty common for an essay. You'll have an introduction. The introduction, you're going to identify what the topic is that you're trying to persuade your audience about. You need to state your position, which is what your thesis statement is for. In the body of the paper, you'll have at least 3 main points. Those main points might just be 1 paragraph apiece. They might be 2 paragraphs apiece. The idea here, though, is that you're developing an explanation to persuade your reader, and you need to use evidence in those paragraphs. That's what we're doing research for. Then we'll have a conclusion at the end of the paper. This is where you review your main points and reaffirm your position. You'll also need to add a works cited entry to the end of this research paper. This will be a list of the sources that you're using in this essay, and you'll need to list those out in MLA format. If you're not sure how to put together a works cited entry using MLA format, I recommend visiting this website. Purdue University has this fantastic site specifically dedicated to formatting your writing. All you have to do is a quick Google search, Purdue University, MLA, and that should do it for you. If you need to see the URL, owl.purdue.edu, it's no more complicated than that. Make sure you go to the MLA section. Over here on the left-hand side, you'll find a menu. I've opened up the MLA style menu. There are other styles. If you're an education major, you might need the APA style for some of your classes. But in my class, we'll use the MLA style. and you can take a look at specifically what type of source you found. So let's say you have a book. You can click on book, and you can take a look at how to cite a book. And here is the specific information on how to do that. Title, author title, title of a container, for example, if you found it on a database, that kind of thing. If you're using an electronic source, perhaps you are looking specifically at databases on the Lee Library page, or maybe you're just on the internet looking at a website. There are all types of electronic sources. Even YouTube videos can be cited. And again, into all types of examples here. Basic style, an entire website, maybe just one page from a website. If you have an electronic book you're using, if you have an image you need to cite, maybe an article from a magazine online, an article from a scholarly journal. Of course, I recommend looking up scholarly journals from the Lee Library databases. This tells you exactly what you need to do, and they provide an example for you so that you can see how to put together your entry. So rely on this page heavily for putting together your works cited at the end of your persuasive essay. In terms of the assignment requirements, we've already mentioned the introduction. We've already mentioned that the body of the paper will develop at least 3 main points. You can have 4. You could even have 5, but 3 is generally the best for this size paper. In terms of evidence to support your points, you'll need quotes or paraphrased material. You might also include some statistics and that sort of thing. We will talk more about ethos, pathos, logos later if you're not familiar with these 3 persuasive methods. Ethos, you're going to develop pretty easily when you cite good sources. Logos, you're going to use when you explain clearly and logically your argument. Pathos is an emotional connection. We'll talk more about that at another time. You'll also need to have a conclusion at the end of your essay. Then we have some basics. Academic English, don't use pronouns I or you. Follow the format instructions as you've been given them. This is a 4 to 5 page paper. You really should not be going over 5 pages. If you are, you might be getting a little out of control with the essay. We want to keep it sharp and focused. And of course, research sources are required for this paper. I do include a note here about page requirements because students often think that a page requirement just means do more of the same, just keep writing, add more words. But a page requirement is meant to indicate a particular depth of focus. So that's why we're going to get into more detail about how to develop your paragraphs for this particular paper. That's part of the reason why you have the exemplification assignment, so that you can see how to develop more closely and more thoroughly a main point. This is a 300-point paper, so it's worth 3 of the essays that you've already written. It is worth quite a lot, and for that reason we're going to take our time with this paper. You'll notice if you look at your syllabus that we have several due dates coming up. What you need to be working on right now is your research for the persuasive paper. So due next Thursday is the exemplification paragraph. I will grade it, give it back to you. You will have a chance to repair it if you would like. But the other thing you should be working on is just your research for this assignment. If you take a look at your syllabus, we come down here to the month of October. In class on Thursday the 8th, we turned in the cause-effect final draft. We had a writing process journal entry, and we assigned these 2 assignments. So next week, on the 15th, we have an exemplification paragraph due. You should have your annotated bibliography ready to turn in. And you should bring research material to class so that we can start on an outline activity. You will likely not finish this during class, You'll probably have to finish it at home, but you'll at least get started on it during class. The outline is due a week later. Just the outline, no draft. You don't have a draft due until October 29th, and we'll have a peer review in class that day. And then you'll actually have 2 weeks to repair your paper. So the final draft of your persuasive essay isn't due until about a month from now on November the 12th. So we do have a lot of time ahead of us, but we want to focus on each stage when we're in that stage. So right now, we should be focused heavily on the research process. If you have any questions about this paper, please contact me, and I'll be happy to answer you. You can send me an email. You can catch me in my office hours if you're on campus, or you can stop by the writing lab.